Welcome to Galactic Standard Time, your hyperspace hangout for the diving into Star Wars timelines, connecting canon dots, and celebrating the galaxy's greatest stories. I'm Physics Buddy Joe. My friends call me Joe. This is episode 1 of a podcast that I've been thinking of for many years, and I couldn't figure out what topic until I realized the topic's right under my nose. The topic is for sure the timelines of Star Wars. It's one of the things that I've always loved. Like when I first started diving, let's even back it up even farther. When it was the expanded universe, back before when there was hardly any Star Wars available to anybody. I got very frustrated because I wanted to know the full story. I loved the young Jedi adventures of Luke and Leia's kids attending Luke's Jedi Academy and all that, and I loved hearing how all the stories intertwined and related to each other. But then I started reading other books, and then they had different characters doing different things at the same time as these characters, and then they were different characters and it was different timelines, and I got so confusing. So I was so excited when it was established that all canon at this point is one continual story, that the Lucasfilm Keeper of the Holocron and the story group really value all the stories that are coming out now agreeing with each other. And as soon as that was established, I started making spreadsheets of the timelines of when people were born, when did certain movies and the books and the games and the TV shows, when did they happen, when was that flashback, all those things, and really setting exact dates to all these different things. So I have multiple spreadsheets tracking all this. I've just recently started making more infographics, like this one, especially as when the most recent show Andor came out, people were confused of when it was happening. So it was one of those things that we had to jump over and be able to look at it, and I can show people, like, when did this book happen, when did this show happen. Like, the events of the last arc of Andor happened after the last season of Rebels. And just all these things is super interesting. One of the biggest things is I'm sure everyone's wondering, where did Galactic Standard Time come from? Well, the name comes from, for one, is just, the BBY, ABY time convention. BBY standing for before the Battle of Yavin, ABY after Battle of Yavin. Very simple. We take the Battle of Yavin in A New Hope and we just put that right in the middle of the number line. And then it, here I have a picture for it. Here we go. There we go. Battle of Yavin, right in the middle. And then you go years before and years after. So this is what our timelines will look like, and this is what everything is based off of. And right now we go all the way this direction to about 52,000 BBY, which is around the time that Hu Yang was born. And then we go all the way this way to about 50 ABY right now, which is when the newest Rey, the new Jedi Order movie that they've been talking about. So as soon as that comes out, I think we're about 50 years after the Battle of Yavin, and then we have histories going all the way back to yeah, like I said, 52,000. I mean, Acolyte was 100 and something years before the Battle of Yavin. The High Republic era is 300-ish years before the Battle of Yavin. So we've got a big timeline and lots of area to explore. One of the values that we will be listening to here is that there is a difference between canon and legends. We like to listen to legends as legends, as fun stories we enjoy. But it's kind of like that's the fiction, those are the legends of the universe, whereas canon stories are going to be the ones that we can put onto our timelines. Those are the characters that are like that make it to my timelines. We don't talk about retconning or anything like that because so far with my framing of this whole story, the retconning doesn't happen with this story group. Now, this is where the very important phrase comes into play of from a certain point of view. There is some lying, there's some the way I saw it, the way I heard it, there's some lying in some instances where you had to say something in the heat of the moment that maybe wasn't 100% true. So that's going to be the big where I'm framing everything from, and the things that are going to make it onto my timelines are going to be official canon films, TV shows, novels. I have not dove into a lot of the comics, but most of the comics threads are canon, and so I will be pulling some of the information from those things. But personally, I watch all the films, I watch all the TV shows, and I work on reading all the books. I'm a couple of books behind right now, and I know there's a couple that I really want to reread because it's been over a decade since I've read some of those. So, generally, these podcasts are just going to be me chatting, probably going through some of my charts and some of my timelines so that we can dig through and look through these. I mean, I have a lot of different spreadsheets, a lot of different information that we'll go through and talk about and discuss. Like here's one of my character spreadsheets of these are all of the characters that appear in the Andor series, so season 1, season 2. So these are all the characters that appear in that show. And then as we go through, I fill out when they were probably born, when they died, when they appear in canon events and things like that. It's just a way for me to be able to cross-reference and find people so I can get more information and figure out where they are. The newest thing that I've been working on is day-to-day timelines, and that's probably going to be a thing that is going to come up a little bit more as we go, as I get these. But it's things like in Andor, this is the kind of Andor, and don't read that as spoilers, but the final the final arc of Andor, rolling into Rogue One, rolling into A New Hope, figuring out when each day, like that, from Andor season 2 arc 4 through Rogue One and A New Hope, it's really only about 2.5 weeks that cover that entire span. So we go from Empire super strong messing with everybody to the Death Star exploding in 2 weeks. It's crazy, but I've starting to break it down into main events and figuring out what days those events happen, and it's been a really fun project. So kind of my background with Star Wars, I don't know if you could tell, but I like Star Wars. I have stuff. I've been collecting a lot of this stuff since I was a child myself. I remember my brother and I collected a lot of the figurines for Star Wars. We had when the Phantom Menace was coming out, they put out those some Pepsi cans that had all the characters on them. My brother and I spent all of our allowance searching those boxes and drinking way too much pop to find all of the different characters. I think we got all of them but maybe one. But because we drank them all, we had empty pop cans, and then we hung them up on string in our bedroom. And once we got to high school and college, they tried moving around with us to college and got crushed and got put away, and they ended up getting destroyed, and I think they're gone now, unfortunately. I wish I had them. They'd be hanging right there. I'd have all my pop cans just hanging from the ceiling right there, but unfortunately that's one of the things we lost. But I know my true love of Star Wars started when I was even younger. When we were kids, we had a screen limit. My parents allowed us to watch, we could watch 2 hours of screens per day, and it had to be at 30-minute increments. So that meant basically we could watch one movie a day, and my brother and I had to agree on that movie. If we didn't agree with a movie, then we had to split our time, and then we could only watch a half a movie. So one of the movies that we could always agree on was Star Wars, Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi. So we would just basically cycle through those movies, and there was a handful of other movies the old Swiss Family Robinson. Trying to think of other ones, but there was a couple of movies in the rotation. But the Star Wars ones are the ones that really stayed in rotation and kept coming back. And due to that time limit that we had, we really had to enjoy that one movie we could watch each day. And then we had an idea. We hooked up our cassette tape player to the VCR, and we recorded the entire trilogy onto blank cassette tapes. So when our screen time was up, we could go up to our rooms, put in the cassette tapes, and we could listen to the entire trilogy without it counting towards our screen time. So that was our hack to be able to watch these movies without it counting towards our screen time. So I know the sounds of the original trilogy so well. It is just ingrained into my brain because we would fall asleep to it playing. We would just have it playing while we were playing Legos. We'd have it just playing while we were doing our homework or drawing or whatever things we were doing. That tape was just on in the background all the time. So I decided when I started having my own kids that I wanted to pass on this love of Star Wars. So when my first son was born, I'm a stay-at-home dad. So my job was feeding this baby. And so I decided that every time I'd have to sit and feed the baby, we would watch through the Clone Wars. So I had watched a bunch of episodes before, but I'd never watched it from beginning to end. So as soon as my son was born in 2013, I put in the Clone Wars, and we just started watching. And it was awesome. Just watched from beginning to end. Basically, that entire infantness, anytime I'd be sitting on the couch feeding him, or while he's asleep, taking a nap, we would sit there and we'd watch Clone Wars, and we got through the whole series. It was awesome. And then when my second son was born in 2015, I did it again. So the 2-year-old got to watch along with us while the baby was eating or sleeping, and we watched through the whole Clone Wars arc again, or series again. So that was great. A couple years later, my wife decided she wanted to watch through it too, so then I got to watch all the way through Clone Wars again with my wife, which is great. Probably my favorite I have to say my favorite episode or moment of Star Wars right now is, spoilers for Rebels, but it would be Kanan's last episode. That whole episode, it doesn't matter how many times I've watched that episode, but I end up crying at the end of that episode every time. It is just so meaningful, and especially as a dad, Kanan being the father figure and sacrificing himself for his family. That was, I'm choking up now just thinking about it. Moving on, let's talk about, we got to talk about favorite characters, favorite shows, things like that. Rebels is my favorite show. I think it's the best. It has so much interconnectivity to so much of the universe. It's just, I love Rebels. I know there's a lot of argument about the art style of it. I think the nod to Ralph McQuarrie is so cool in Rebels. It's just, it's my favorite. Growing up, Han Solo was always my favorite character. I've never connected with Luke like a lot of people. So my brother and I always kind of split our characters anyway. So he always tended to be more Luke. He had blonde hair, so that makes sense. I had the dark hair, so I was Han Solo. And I always liked Han Solo. And then more recently, Kanan is up there for one of my favorite characters. I just think he's so interesting of a character, so honorable. Really like him. And then thinking like aesthetics, R2D2 is one of my favorites. I mean, we got the Lego R2 up here. We got my old softball jersey hoodie over here. It's all R2. My next favorite is the Falcon. Like, I got probably the most Millennium Falcon things laying around too. So those are my aesthetics. I guess if you're gonna say like favorite droid, like B1 or BD1. Reach for this. BD1. Is one of my favorites. He's over off camera, can't see him, but I like the droids a lot. Cool. So we already talked. People, because of my screen name being Physics Buddy Joe, people a lot of times think I'm going to be coming in with a bunch of actuallys about how Star Wars isn't correct physics. I actually did a research project back in college about the physics of comic book characters, and for some reason I've never put that logic to Star Wars. Star Wars is escapism. Star Wars is space fantasy, space opera. It's not science fiction, so I never thought it needed to be grounded in reality. I mean, every planet having one biome, every planet being known for a thing in general. Somehow it's always day when it needs to be day when you land on a planet. It's always night when you need to be night when you land on a planet. If you call across the galaxy, somebody's always awake to answer the call. Like, all that kind of stuff. It's storytelling. It's all not real, but the best kind of real that makes sense and has a great story. And it's supposed to be fun, and that's what we get out of it and put into it. I'm hoping to be making these episodes weekly. I am a stay-at-home dad, and we're about to be summer, so I'll have my two kids all day, every day. So I'm not sure if I'll be able to put together information and resources and energy and effort into that, but I'm going to try. Going to be my project for the summer to keep me going and finally be able to share all of these crazy things that I've built and put time and effort in that I use personally, and I would love to share with everybody else. But yeah, weekly episodes, hopefully. If not, they'll come out when I have a chance to put them out, and they'll be on YouTube, they'll be on the podcast streams. The main episodes are going to be talking about eras, and then looking at all of the different novels and movies and TV shows that kind of happen all through there, and weaving them together and see what happened when, and where was this person when this was happening, and all those kind of things. Probably start doing some deep dives like I've been doing over this last week, of like just that one BBY, and just breaking down that year and figuring out what was happening across the galaxy in that 1 year. It's like the Battle of Lothal, the Battle of Scarif, the Battle of Yavin. It's all in that 1 year. So it'd be interesting to see when were those happening, when were the other pieces kind of revolving around all of that stuff. So super interesting. We'll probably do some deep dives on those kind of things as well. One of the big reasons why I love looking into all this is we have things like, as soon as, you know, somebody pops up on a screen, everyone all of a sudden jumps to, who's their father? Who's there? Who are they going to be in the future? And like, we can go back and we can look at it and be like, well, you know, this person was born, you know, 4 years after this person was born, so it's not that person. Or this person was here when this happened, and this person was here when this happened, so there's no way they could have been the parents. And you know, it's one of those Jedi, Star Wars tropes. So I like debunking and also adding to some of those theories and speculations. One of the other things that I've been working on that we'll probably end up going through at some point is that I put together a bunch of family trees, and not just family trees too. I've done. I'll pull them up for you guys. Maybe I will. Yeah, that'll work. But Jedi trees. So this is Yoda's Jedi tree, where it goes through all of the. So there's Yoda, and then all the people he has trained directly or indirectly, and then all the people they've trained, all the people they trained, all the way down to basically Rey is one of his tree members as we get all the way down there. And stuff like that. Super, super interesting to figure out who trained who. Like, did you know Cal Kestis is from Yaddle's tree? And that's even more exciting as we get into some of the High Republic trees, because there's just so many Jedi in High Republic era that it's fun putting those trees together. So we'll do some talking through some of that kind of stuff, and then we might even do some discussion on eras in like the movie watch order, and you only get a sneak peek to that because that'll definitely be an episode at some point. But I think that is it. That is it for this episode of Galactic Standard Time. Thanks for joining me as we explore the threads and connect the galaxy. If you like what you heard, subscribe and share it with another rebel or a loyal Bureau of Standards employee. You can find me online at Physics Buddy Joe, and follow the show on Blue Sky at GST Pod, TikTok and YouTube at Galactic Standard Time Pod, and everywhere you find podcasts. Next week, I think we're gonna either do the Andor deep dive of the day-to-day, like how long exactly did these events happen, but overall probably just do the overall timeline of Andor and where it fits in the giant canon, and then we'll probably talk about some of the books and other shows and things like that relate into all of that, and maybe do some speculation of who is Clea gonna be later, who is Cassian's sister, how old is Jyn when she meets Cassian, and what was Jyn doing before Cassian rescued her, all that kind of stuff. So until next time, follow the story, stay timely, and we'll catch you in the next rotation.